And I don't think AI is going away, right? Like, there are these people that think, like, oh, the bubble bursts, AI goes away. No, that's not happening whatsoever. I think we're at a point now where this tech is so ingrained into especially young developers that this is going to be something that sticks around long term. I think what doesn't stick around long term, though, is really expensive cloud models. And we saw this recently with the RTX, is it RTX Spark? The new NVIDIA thing. Yes, RTX Spark. I couldn't remember if they'd used like a new branding for it. The RTX Spark, which is NVIDIA's like big AI chip, 128 gigabytes of unified memory. And the idea here is to like move away from these mega cloud models and actually be able to run these locally. And NVIDIA is an interesting company, right? Because they're selling on like both ends of the spectrum. They are selling giant database cards to all of these massive companies at the same time. If they can sell like local AI stuff to not average developers, not like average consumers, right? Like, you're not going to buy this as like some random guy that has a mid-tier GPU. But if you're a Microsoft, if you're a, I don't know, like pick a Meta, like a big developer firm, I could see a lot of these companies, maybe Microsoft's a bad example because they have Copilot, but I could see a lot of these like big companies, especially when it comes to like data sensitivity, like medical context, wanting to run large-scale local models so they don't get into like weird litigation stuff and all of these problems which I think like are on the radar and have been happening over the past couple of years. Now, I don't remember what they were... Did they announce a price? I don't actually think they did. But it was like a stripped-down server card. Wait. RTX Spark pricing ranges from $1,800 to $2,900 USD for base laptops, $4,000 to $8,000 for AI work. What? Wait, no shot it's that cheap. What? Wait, okay, maybe NVIDIA is like, okay, we're going to take a loss on this one to get adoption, because I don't fucking know how it is that cheap to buy these things. Jesus fucking Christ. If you think the GPU shortage is going to end anytime soon, fuck no, it's not. I think it's only going to get worse. Well, a RAM shortage is going to lead to GPU shortage, all this fun stuff we're seeing. But as I was saying, I think there's a lot of these young developers who they are learning to write code with access to AI from the day they start. And it's in a similar way to when I learned to code, and when most of you learned to code, you had access to the internet, right? You didn't have to go and buy a programming book. You didn't have to go to a library to find something. You didn't have to take a programming class. If you wanted to learn Go, you wanted to learn Rust or C++ or any other language, for most of us, we could just go to like online documentation, get any code documentation we could possibly want. There are tutorials out there. We could read like the official docs. There are actually like copies of the books that we could have bought anyway online through less than legal means. Or there's video tutorials. If you prefer the idea of a guided class-like structure, there are these really good online classes that you can follow that you don't have to pay for, and like you get as good of an experience as what you'd get in a more like structured education setting. In fact, in some cases, like when I went through uni, we were watching Lynda courses for a couple of my classes. I think my Java class, maybe my C++ class. I don't remember exactly which ones. Definitely the Java, maybe Java 2. Either way, we were just watching lynda.com courses, which is now, I believe Lynda is LinkedIn Learning? Lynda.com LinkedIn Learning. I think it got acquired or rebranded. 2017 they became LinkedIn Learning. Okay. But yeah, like you can get amazing resources online. And whilst a lot of people like meme on AI for telling you wrong things, a lot of people are using it, right? A lot of young developers aren't just shying away from these tools. They are using them as a way to hopefully augment their learning, right? The ones who are just vibing their way through everything, not learning to code, that's not going to help you. But if you're using it as a, hey, I want to, or like generate me like a programming problem. I'm not sure about how to do X thing in Python. Like how do I handle F strings in Python? How do I make an object in Python? Don't do objects in Python, but how do I make an object in Python? Like what is operator overloading? How does that work in C++? You can get answers to these questions. And I think a lot of people are really bad at using search engines. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but I think that is a big part of the reason why these AI tools like popped off so much, right? Like a lot of us know how to do keyword searching, how to like, do quoted things to find what we want. But I've seen the way that my roommate uses AI. I've seen the way he uses a search engine. He will ask full-length questions like and not just like basic things like what is X person's birth date? What is the weather in this place? Give me good local Chinese restaurants, things like that. But like full-length questions about like complicated topics. Like he plays Factorio, and it's like this idea of being able to ask a question and then being able to ask not just that question, but then directly ask a follow-up in case you didn't understand something, or if let's say you were being guided through something, effectively having like a guided tour through something. I can see, even with mistakes, why for a lot of people this is really engaging, this is really useful, because they don't use a search engine like you would use a search engine anyway. So these tools came along, and for people that operate in that sort of mindset in the first place, it set them up to a position where it just made more sense to interact with than what you were getting by just interacting with Google, by interacting with DuckDuckGo or any of these other search engines. So it makes sense in my head how this has happened, even if I'm not entirely happy about what went on here. So overall, like, I don't think AI tools are going away, right? I struggle to believe that is remotely going to happen. There's just way too much investment, not like investment as in money, but mental investment. There are like really experienced, like 20, 30 year experienced developers who they've started using this tooling, and they cannot go back to not having this tooling be available. In their mind, this is how I work with these tools now. You could do it, but it's kind of like the way I've spoke. Like, some people speak about Rust in a similar way, where they go from C to Rust, and they feel like a lot of what they had to do to make C safe, Rust does for them, and trying to go back to C feels like you are sort of trying to tread through, what's a good example? What's something thick? You're trying to swim through custard. Terrible example, but it's like you're putting these weights back on, and everything suddenly feels harder. And for people who've started using these tools, these like AI tools, I've heard very similar sorts of things where they are like they were experienced developers long before AI, but now they've started using it. Going back from that becomes this challenge. I do think that one thing the cost of AI is causing, though, is there is a lot of people who were never interested in engineering. They were never interested in programming. They were interested in the results, right? And this like token price increase, this token maxing, this spend as much money as possible, outside of the people that just have infinite disposable wealth, which there are people out there like that, there's a lot of other people who they were never really interested in the process, the art, the enjoyment of building something from scratch. And now that a lot of them are being basically forced to build something from scratch because they don't have the money to spend on the tokens that they were effectively getting for free before, now a lot of them are sort of like re-questioning, is this even something I want to do now? And you see this, like, this is not just like a unique to AI thing, but you see this every so often where it's like, for example, actually, great example. When I was going through uni, my first year had a lot of people. And a lot of the people that were there, they were there because their parents said, you have to go do something with your life. You cannot sit at home and play video games all day. You like video games, go learn to make video games. And a lot of these people realize incredibly quickly that the interest in playing games and the interest in making games are two very, very distinct interests, let alone the skill set and the knowledge required. You can learn the skills, you can learn the knowledge, but if you fundamentally don't have an interest in, like, breaking down problems into their rudimentary components, having at least a basic mathematics background, yes, different areas of programming require different mathematics. If you're doing, like, shader programming and you're doing matrix manipulations, yeah, that's more complicated than knowing basic Boolean mathematics, but you still need to have, like, some sort of basic mathematical background. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people simply don't, and they joined these and then just very quickly burnt out. And I think there's a good and a bad thing about the university structure. With university being long, it does weed a lot of people out who had zero interest in the field, right? And this is something that a lot of boot camps did not let happen. There are a lot, they've kind of like slowed down now. Are people even still doing coding boot camps? I don't even know. Coding boot camp. This was like a common thing pre-COVID. The top post I see here is from 4 years ago. Oh, I see one post here from a year ago, one from 12 months ago. Don't attend coding boot camps. Right. I think the winds have shifted on that one, especially with AI and stuff like that. But with those coding boot camps being so short, you can very quickly start learning to code and doing things before you know if you like something. And AI is a very similar thing, where you can start, like, you can generate an entire, not a good one, but an entire video game, an entire website, an entire application, and do that before you even know whether you like the idea of programming in the first place. And when then you have to go and deal with the hard problems, the tokens start drying up, you actually have to be an engineer, then you start realizing, oh shit, now I'm in the big leagues. Oh shit, I don't want to be here.